Hello, everyone. Um, Welcome. This session is going to be about what happens after the learning, beyond the classroom. We're going to go beyond the theory and focus on the real applications of Catalyst. We're going to share our experiences as people managers and how Catalyst has given us a new way of bringing DiSC into our conversations and really into our meetings and into our team. We found that Catalyst makes the work that we're already doing just work better. So Pia and I manage the Wiley Education teams, roles that we had both stepped into in 2024. These are the teams responsible for creating, supporting, and delivering everything DISC certification. I think many of you on this call have met some of our team, or we met Lisa and Angel today as well. We have a great range of experience in our team of 14, and most of our connections are happening virtually over our hybrid work model. We both have strongly inclined styles. Pia with a strongly inclined C style, and I have a strongly inclined D style.
Thanks, Andy, and hi, everyone. Before we get into sharing more about our case study, I want to give a quick but important reminder on DISC, one that Andy and I have had to remind ourselves about as well. And that is that one style is not better than another. DISC isn't a label, it's really that lens that helps us understand our differences. Now, as you can see from these two continua from the colleague section of Catalyst, there are notable differences between Andy and I. As we began to work together in a manager capacity, these continua really helped turn our judgments into curiosity. It gave us an understanding of our different preferences and really helped us work better together.
It certainly has helped us work, Pia, and knowing our differences and our similarities, it's made us stronger, frankly, as a management team. And it's been crucial as we work together to strengthen our wider team. We're excited to walk you through a case study of how we have used Catalyst to create change and improve our team's satisfaction.
Excellent. So we're headed back to 2024, Andy and I as new managers, and really excited about our new roles. Not long into that manager tenure, the Wiley Engagement Survey took place. Now, these run twice a year for us with the aim of taking the pulse of the organization, really looking at how employees are feeling and their satisfaction at work. Andy and I hadn't seen an engagement survey from the manager view before. So while it was exciting, it was fair to say we were also a little nervous about next steps. We knew that the data gained would be valuable, but also that data alone isn't something that leads to long-term behavioral change, right? We would have to be the bridge between the data and the lived experience. We also know that engagement isn't shaped once or twice a year by a survey. It's shaped in the everyday interactions, the meetings, check-ins, project work, and the conversations we have or avoid. When the results came out, we were tasked with finding an opportunity area that would bring improvements to our team. It was time for us to take action. Now, Andy and I are lucky enough to lead really high performing teams and really engaged teams. And our survey results showed that there wasn't one distinct area that needed a lot of improvement. But we both had really strong ideas about what we wanted to focus on. And we decided on two goals. So the first goal was to strengthen the team's feelings of inclusion and belonging. Now, our belonging scores were well above the company average, but we hadn't been intentional about focusing on it. And we know that inclusion and belonging really can impact people's satisfaction at work, their overall engagement, the recognition they feel they're receiving, and the safety they feel in their ability to innovate or take initiative. So, in addition to that goal, we also knew that we were headed towards some really significant change. Just like many other organizations, we were looking at a return to office policy, AI adoption, and system and process changes within our team. And Andy and I, we wanted to help the team understand their individual approach to change and how we could support each other as a wider team through the changes to come. So that became goal number two. With those two clear goals, we were ready to get started.
We were ready to get started, but we had to figure out how to do that. Pia and I started with Catalyst. Now, we live DiSC every day, and like we already know DiSC, but it still takes intention, and there are always things to learn and insight to gain. So looking at the team map and your groups was our first step. We already had an idea of our team's makeup and the context of it. The majority of our team are in the cautious and reflective half of the map. And you might notice that we have a lot of S styles on our team. And any of you who have been through one of our courses have probably experienced that supportive style. But collaboration, support, and stability are key priorities for our group. And that's why focusing on belonging is so important. Giving our team more opportunities to feel included, increase the sense of belonging, and make them feel supported was going to be our way of strengthening the team's chemistry and culture. Again, we weren't sure how to do this, but we knew we wanted to provide opportunities. Another aspect we looked at in Catalyst was the private to outgoing continuum. And seeing this really gave us pause. Let me circle this. If everyone is quite private and not willing to share, we needed to think about how we could build a safe environment and reinforce the foundation of trust, ultimately strengthening our sense of belonging. So we started brainstorming.
Yeah, and brainstorming was a lot of fun. We were focused on our goals, but let me share these two continuum again. There were times where we felt and heard our style preferences clash. I know that Andy took several deep breaths as he tried to pull me along faster, and I for sure am willing to admit that I rolled my eyes and really wanted us to slow down and make sure we had a solid plan in place before we got too far. But through this, we strengthened our working relationship. We got to know each other better. We found ways that we could work together, and we certainly didn't let those differences hold us back. So, as our brainstorming progressed, we defined key elements of our structure for moving forward. Firstly, Andy and I committed to delivering 1 hour team sessions every month, one hour team session every month to focus on those two goals. We landed on this monthly cadence because our hybrid international team, like I'm sure many of yours are, is busy, right? Monthly was frequent enough to keep the learning alive and relevant without it becoming a burden on our daily workloads or adding any additional stress. So we were really deliberate in our choice here to choose consistency over intensity. Andy and I also agreed on our guiding principles that each 1 hour session would be grounded in shared learning, open reflections, and application to current work. And the final structural element that we aligned on was including icebreakers in each session to help us ensure a safe and familiar space. We know that meaningful collaboration happens best when participants feel connected. We also know that given our DiSC style makeup, which you saw Andy just share, that this type of engagement would be really well received by the team. So with these three elements confirmed, we started to think about content. And you might have guessed, it was a pretty easy choice for us to use the features of Catalyst to initiate and drive conversations. For one, our team was already really comfortable navigating in the platform. We also knew it was a proven tool. So as new managers, it gave us confidence that it would help us achieve our goals. And finally, using Catalyst also meant that Andy and I could focus on leading the discussions rather than spending a lot of time creating materials. So with that direction, we looked at which of the Catalyst tools would help us the most. And this probably isn't going to be surprising. It didn't take us long to decide what to use. We were confident that conversation starters, Worksmart, and group insights were the tools that would help us achieve our goals of strengthening inclusion and belonging and supporting the team through change. So I'm going to let Andy share more of the specifics here.
Sure, Pia, you're going to hand it to your strongly inclined D style to get into the details. Let me start high level and share a quick overview of our plan for the first 3 months. In month 1 and 2, we focused on those conversation starters. Really, that helped us build the connection and the foundation of trust. Then in month 3, we began to shift to Worksmart and helping your team navigate change. So let's take a deeper look through these first 3 months. And starting with our first monthly session, we used I apologize, I got to jump back one. I got click happy. There we go. Our first two monthly sessions, we use the communicating clearly and making decisions together topics from the conversation starters from your groups, of course, in Catalyst. It helped us open our discussions on getting to know our team. So here I want to show an example of a communicate clearly. This is a continuum. It's got tact and frankful, tactful, and frank continuum. These questions use DiSC concepts to keep the focus on the team, allowing us to explore our different approaches and how it might impact the way we function in decision making and providing feedback. We use small group breakouts. And so we were in Microsoft Teams and we use their breakout sessions so that we could kind of parcel our team out. But we use the small group breakouts to keep the environment small and give time for deeper discussion before sharing the learning together, before coming back kind of as that large group. And I do want to share, after returning from a short 10-minute breakout conversation, one of our team members said, and I quote, "I didn't realize how much our private and tactful tendencies were influencing our decision making until we talked it through." Like, I can still remember how her statement,
That's cool.
it was cool. And as a team leader, like, I felt proud. The following month, we continued with the conversation starters before we shifted our focus in that third month to the second need. And remember, our second need was supporting the team with change. Using Worksmart and the module that's titled Helping Your Team Navigate Change, it felt again like an easy choice. Now, as the manager, I was also the facilitator for this conversation. And I've been a facilitator for a number of years, and I found these modules great. Nothing was overly scripted. It was enough to help the conversation. And personally, with my style, I don't love sticking to a tight script. You just saw an example of that where I jumped a slide. But I did find in Worksmart where we had enough guidance to make the conversation easy to start and enough kind of security that it's there if we're relying on the script. Catalyst helped us and the team members talk through the change curve and how we each responded given our DISC styles. We applied real world, real life, real work examples to the change curve, and we found that we were all in different places of this stage of moving through the curve. We had some very open conversations about where our team morale was at, and frankly, the team's vulnerability was great. Now, the option to build out action plans through Worksmart after the group session, it gave us opportunities to follow up one-on-one and integrate Catalyst throughout the month. After our initial meeting, we began to see a shift in conversations well beyond that meeting into other meetings. People were sharing and discussing change in new ways and with a more positive frame of mind. To top it off, my team began to schedule 30-minute check-ins with other team members to continue their conversations that were started in the team session. These were a personal, unprompted initiative. It truly felt like Pia and I were onto something. Supporting each of our monthly engagements were the group insights. Pia and I used these data points to spark focused conversations in areas that would most benefit the team, while we still kept the format kind of intentionally flexible. Again, this light structure, it allowed us as managers and the facilitators to create the space for the meaningful dialogue, where the team could be open and vulnerable and where we could also bring in our own sense of energy and fun. For example, during one of the sessions, I had asked, looking at our team's distribution, how do you think it might impact the way we work together? At the end of our conversation, at the end of our discussion, one of our team members shared that by gaining a deeper understanding of my team members' motivations and strengths, I was able to engage with them more intentionally. That's pretty powerful. And then it was followed from another colleague that shared, I'm starting to see the connection between how I naturally show up on this team and what the team actually needs from me. It was moments like these that highlighted the power of Catalyst. And as the months went by, we continued to see growth happen in real time. But stepping back, like, what did this growth mean? What results or outcomes did Pia and I find?
Well, we felt a difference, Andy, and we definitely heard a change, and the survey results showed it. Our most recent survey information confirmed the benefits of our commitment as a team and the effort we have all continue to put in. We've maintained high scores year on year in performance, empowerment, and growth. And we were really delighted to see in the most recent survey that we've achieved our 2 goals. Belonging and change scores are still well above the company average. In addition, this year, Andy and I received 100% scores on manager satisfaction, which feels a little uncomfortable for us to share, but it's really great recognition, and it confirms that we have done the best we can for our team and our colleagues, and it's being recognized by them. So I want to add that the results haven't just shown up in the data. Equally important for Andy and I is that the results show up in how work feels. Seeing how the team have reacted so positively to what we've done and delivered is just one step towards seeing the success we've achieved. One of the biggest shifts we have noticed is in trust. Team members show up to conversations more openly, and there's a noticeable increase in psychological safety. Someone in a team meeting said that the sessions have given us permission to be more honest without it feeling personal. Another change was the quality of the conversations. They became much more effective. People weren't just talking more. There was more curiosity, more listening, and a greater willingness to explore differences without things feeling personal or uncomfortable. As one colleague put it, you can see on screen here, our team conversations feel more open and productive than they used to be. And that really stood out to us. Finally, Catalyst stopped feeling like a separate tool and started showing up naturally in the flow of work. It became really common to hear someone say, I was just checking Catalyst to see how we might talk about this, which told us that the learning was sticking, right, and being applied in real time. Now, these aren't things that Andy or I prompted or scripted. They were organic shifts that we observed as the learnings from Catalyst and the platform itself became integrated into how the team worked together. Now, when we step back and look at the broader impact, what we can see is meaningful change, not just in how the team feels, but in how the team functions. So with greater trust, we've seen stronger collaboration. It's now easier for people to raise concerns, share ideas, work through differences constructively, meaning we're also a lot more open to making mistakes, learning from them, and innovating through iteration. With more effective conversations and information being shared across the team, decision making has become a lot quicker. People feel more empowered to take action rather than waiting or hesitating and seeking answers from us as managers. As a result of both of these factors, we see people, even some of our highly inclined S styles, no less, ending meetings, pushing us forward. We've seen our content development timeframes reduce greatly as we work better together. And finally, we have a team where people are intentional about how they work together, not because we added more training, but because we've embedded learning into everyday interactions. We've also seen, and this is huge for us, growth and development being led by individuals directly. It's fantastic. So DiSC has become a shared language that the team can lean on, especially during moments of challenge or as we go through change. And that's how we really can see that we've shifted from beyond a classroom training experience into that sustainable everyday impact. So in preparation for today, Andy and I, again, felt a little uncomfortable, but we sought some direct feedback from the team. And we were really pleased to receive a lot of comments like this one on screen. And I'm going to read it out. The team building sessions that Andy and Pia have put together for our team have truly been instrumental in helping us build trust, belonging, and community within our larger education team. They have also helped us all to really walk the talk. Now, Andy, I think we can pretty confidently call this an outstanding success.
Absolutely, right. And our monthly sessions, like we continue to do them every month, and with the foundation that we have already built, We are able to have these robust and vulnerable discussions, bringing in other ideas, new content, and we use the time towards kind of shifting opportunities in the team. Being the educators that we are, we wanted to share our story and give you the framework that you can consider for yourselves, or maybe the managers that you work with. So, as Pia and I reflect on this journey, there are a few key lessons that really stood out for us. First and foremost was curiosity. As new managers, we didn't feel like we needed to have all of the answers. Staying curious helped us move away from fixing and towards understanding, both the team and ourselves. Right? The second lesson was intentional time. None of this happened by accident. We made deliberate space for biweekly one-on-ones. We dedicated time to prepare for our sessions. Even though we work with Catalyst every day, we still need time to pause. We still need time to think and to plan together. That preparation made all the difference. Another big learning was around using the resources already available for us. We leaned into our HR tools. We leaned into the practitioner resources and, of course, Catalyst itself, not to add more work. I promise I did not want to add more work, but it was to give us direction and confidence. Having these tools meant that we could focus less on creating the content and actually leading those meaningful conversations.
Right. And finally, you've heard me say it a few times, integration. Over time, Catalyst stopped feeling like something we were using and started feeling like something that was just part of how we led. It's really helped us meet people where they are and improve the quality of our conversations. Particularly as new managers, it's given us confidence, especially when we're headed into discussions about motivation, performance, or maybe direction. And looking back, this really was a mindset shift. We took small but intentional steps. We stayed focused on what our team needed, and we kept coming back to Catalyst as a guide. It was kind of our life raft. And now we can clearly see the impact. It's in the data, it's in the conversations, and it's in how work feels every day.
And so to summarize, I want to pull forward a model, and it will look very similar to the model that Steph and Claire just walked us through. But four steps here. First, we needed to identify the need. What are the challenges? Are the drivers for this change? Is it communication? Is it turnover, disharmony, or just a general desire to do better? So once we've identified the need, then we get to start to gather insight. Now, I suggest using Catalyst as a tool to consider the team style, start building understanding of yourself and understanding of others. The next step, and this is my personal favorite, is engaging the people. Use Catalyst as that springboard into the conversations. We kind of showcase today your groups or Worksmart, for example, but then you can return and engage with it regularly. Remind the team that they too can get insight from Catalyst. Lastly, I have commit and integrate. In your sessions, work with the team to commit to focusing on that chosen area. Set a time plan for a review. Agree to a regular cadence of meetings and build prompts into other regular connection points throughout our daily interactions. I encourage you, I mean, this screenshot, these gears, again, you saw them with Steph and Claire's presentation. If you want to capture a screenshot or jot down the notes, because this four-step process, it can be used in any number of situations in your teams or your organizations. If you're working on engagement or change or team challenges or just strengthening already great teams. But having heard our example and seeing how we took Catalyst beyond the classroom, we'd like to encourage you to think about your next steps. And so Pia and I would encourage you to start small. And I'd like you to take a moment and reflect on how your organization is currently using Catalyst. Is it primarily a one-time training experience, or is it something participants log into once and then rarely return and revisit? Just getting honest about your starting point is important. Second, consider what this case study may have sparked for you. What ideas came to mind about extending Catalyst beyond the classroom or beyond that training session? Maybe you thought about using it in team meetings, incorporating comparison reports into one-on-ones, or referencing it during project kickoffs. Pay attention to those initial ideas because that is where your momentum already is.
Right. And once you know how you're using Catalyst and the ideas or opportunities you can see, it's time to determine who you're going to work with. And start with just one team. Identify a team or a group where there's some openness, where you might have some influence, or there is a clear, immediate business need. And then partner with them. Partner with the team and their manager. Share some simple ideas for how Catalyst could show up outside the classroom. Maybe some of the things we've talked about today or that you've heard from Claire and Steph earlier. Maybe it's just starting small with meeting norms. Maybe it's using Catalyst to prepare for a difficult conversation or tying it into that quarterly review or planning cycle. The goal really isn't to add more work, it's to extend the learning into real everyday interactions. So start small, learn from the experience, be brave and ask for feedback, gather the data, and then build from there.
Remember, the Catalyst is a powerful tool, and its real impact comes when it's used beyond the training session. Integrating into everyday work can drive these meaningful cultural change. As managers, we encourage you to think creatively about how to embed Catalyst into your organization's teams or routines.